In my case, I hit the streets. I mean, that world is something different. It's a lot of bad things going on. That stresses you out. Anything could happen to you out on the streets.
Hi, I'm Jack Crowley, president of Water Street Mission. Welcome to the Restorers Podcast. If you live in Lancaster, you may have encountered some of our friends who are experiencing homelessness, who are living on the street. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about what their experience is like. Many of our guests at Water Street were living on the street before they came here. It's not everybody's journey that comes to Water Street, but for many of them it is. And we thought it would be valuable to take some time to hear about what that is like for them before they come through the doors of Water Street, and what insights we can learn about them and about us through this conversation. So we're glad you joined us today. I want to give a special thank you to our Season 2 sponsors, MHEB Incorporated, Amish Gazebos, Espenshade Farms, and Espenshade Mills. To learn more about our sponsors, visit wsm.org/podcast. Well, once again, we're excited to join you and for a really interesting conversation, I think, today. With me is Ron Gibson, one of our senior life coaches here at Water Street. And I know, your first experience with Water Street wasn't as a life coach.
No, it wasn't. I've been a life coach. I'm going on my 7th year.
Wow.
I think. And I came here seeking shelter, something to eat,
Yeah.
and to do everything that Water Street told me not to do. I mean, I was a bad guest, but God prevailed. God took care of everything. But I stayed here when I finally took it serious and received the blessings that God bestowed on me through Water Street. I stayed here for 14 months straight. And, my family, some of them in Baltimore, yo, you crazy up there, being a Christian, this and that and the other. And I was like, man, I went up there and grew up.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and we're grateful, Ron, that not only you joined us and came on that journey, but that you came back to us to serve on staff. Ron's going to bring some special insight today as we listen to some of our guests who have experienced life on the street. They're with us now at Water Street, but prior to coming here, they were living on the street. They were trying to survive in a lot of different contexts. We'll get to hear that, but we asked them, what it was like. A lot of us, we see individuals who are struggling like that. Right. What's it really like to experience that? So we're going to listen to some of their thoughts and then talk a little bit about the experience of our guests and how we come alongside them.
All right.
Me, I was out on the street. I went from trying to live in a tent to being put back out, basically out on the sidewalk before I came here. I lived on the street. It wasn't fun. It was, in my eyes, it's terrible. Because on those cold nights, you had to find a way to warm up, keep yourself warm. Windy nights, you were chasing your blankets and stuff. Cops harassed you, all kinds of crazy stuff. So even if some people like living outside, it's not camping. My biggest stressor was when I lived out on the street was my safety, because I didn't know who was going to walk up on me in the middle of the night, do something stupid. I had a guy fall into the corner of my tent, and I said something. He decided to rip the tent poles out. So I was scared, and I'm like, you're not really right in the head. You're going to attack somebody across the street from the police station. So my biggest stress was safety. Like somebody walking up, they're sleeping, they're homeless. I'm just going to beat them up today. Because I've seen stuff on Facebook and TikTok and all that. And I'm like, I'm homeless. This could happen to me. But I tried not to think about it and tried to move from place to place, but that's one stress by living on the street.
So this is not going to be a light topic today on our podcast, but it's the reality that our guests are living with every day before they come in the doors here. As she was sharing, her biggest stressor was just safety.
And for a female being out there on the streets, there's prey and then there's predators. You know what I mean? And my heart goes out to her and to any female that's out there homeless, but safety. I mean, even for males, it goes both ways because the predator market, it's a bad way to put it, is high. You have people coming from all walks of life that's not homeless preying on the homeless, and it's sad. You know what I mean? Just keep that lady in prayer. I'm glad she's here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think
and guess what? And for folks who watching, I don't even know who that is,
right.
but me being a senior life coach, I get to love on her every day. Yeah. And I know I do. If she's here, I done crossed her path, and I probably done made her laugh, made her forget a little bit of that pain and bring her some joy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think, that's one of the great things about being where we are.
That's right.
But I think of those guests who are in that situation. She made that comment, there are people who love to be outdoors and blah, blah, blah. You know, this isn't camping.
No.
You see tents.
Right.
But it's not camping. No. And that whole concept, like for me, having never lived on the streets, having never been in that vulnerable, I know even when I'm out in the woods camping, on a hike somewhere, and I'm backpacking, I set up, it's like you close your eyes, you don't know what's out there, right? And I know in the woods, I'm miles away from people. I'm probably not vulnerable from people doing something to me, which is, probably our worst enemy is people. Definitely. But I'm still nervous. It's still hard to close your eyes. You're still feeling it. And I can't even imagine that feeling of knowing you need to close your eyes because you have to get some rest.
Like, what touched me really with her, what she said, chasing your cover in the wind, like trying to bundle up and it's a cold winter night. Like in my prayers, every day I ask God to protect those that's out there, keep them dry when it's wet, keep them warm when it's cold, keep them cool when it's hot. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I have been out there myself, not for a long period of time, but to experience it for 1 second is too much. Not knowing where your next meal coming from, not knowing, like she said, the police harass you. No disrespect to any officers in any force, but sometimes you have to lay places where you're not supposed to because you're seeking safety.
Yeah, it's the one place I feel safe.
Yeah, that feels safe, not just laying down because you're tired. A lot of people, look, she said she was across the street from the police station.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And I think that's the other element of this is, safety. The threat to safety is from so many different angles, right? Man. It's the elements. Yeah. Safety from the elements is a big deal. But then
me and you know of people that the cold has killed.
Yes.
And it's sad.
Yes.
It's sad, but it is truth. We know some people that the cold has killed. We know some people that the heat has, killed. But I'm going to remember her voice so I could just love on her more.
So this next guest we're going to listen to, Ron, he's going to start off in English and then switch to Spanish because he's more comfortable. We'll have a voiceover so that our listeners can hear what he's saying in English. Right. But let's hear about his experience.
In my case, I hit the streets. Yeah, I hit the streets and I stood wherever I could. Friends. I have no family members here. So it was either friends and bad people. I mean, that world is something different. Yeah, it's a lot of bad things going on in that world. Not good at all. Well, me knowing where I was gonna stay that night, I have that stresses you out because you don't know where you're gonna end that night. Anything could happen to you out on the streets, especially when you're doing drugs. Yeah, and people could rob you, murder you, anything could happen. So that was a big stress itself, yeah.
I think so. People view you as something different. They don't view you as another human being. They view you as the scum of society. You're useless, an addict, 1,000 things. They stereotype you like you aren't a part of their society. You become less than them. That's how they look at you. They don't have anywhere to go to meet their needs, go to the bathroom. They don't have access to places to shower. They don't have places to wash their clothes. They don't change their clothes. And they walk around dirty, so people view them differently. But people in a shelter, well, we have all the necessities here. Sometimes people don't even realize if you don't say, they don't know you're in a shelter.
He talks a bit about how people view you.
That's right.
Differently when you're on the street.
I was saying to them earlier, being here long as I have, like on, can I say the street?
Yeah.
On Prince Street.
Yeah.
You see people ride by. I'm very observant, and I look into people's eyes like this in the passenger seats, and I've seen some of the most meanest faces, in the world. And I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes, but I have seen people like, I'm judging them because I'm looking at them and they judging me.
Right.
But the thing is, I've seen people look at people because they in line out there. Right. And they might have a cart. They might have the wheelchair. They might look different. But one thing he hit on is when you're an addict and homeless, it's another level of survival out there.
Right.
You're trying to get your drug. Right. You're trying to find a place to do your drug. Yeah. You 9 times out of 10, you're doing things to put you in jail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we get a lot of people that come here, man, that like I always say, God is bigger than any folding arms. You know what I mean? And we get people that come here with their arms folded, but as time goes on, that's right, bro. Yeah. And they break down and start receiving what's here. Yeah. It give them a different mindset. But out there, if you're on drugs and homeless, people subject to do anything. So that turns the
right. Well, and he identified how that made him even more vulnerable.
Yes,
he's like,
right.
He knew there was safety was an issue.
Yeah.
And then when I was on drugs, it was even worse because he knew he couldn't protect himself. He wasn't in his right mind. He's even more vulnerable. So safety clearly an issue. I want to go back to that comment, like you mentioned about people looking at our guests and even at us sometimes walking down the side. Well, wondering, are we a guest?
Yes,
but what that does to you.
When I see
to the individual who's experiencing homelessness, when they know they're being looked at, like he said,
judged.
The scum. What do you say? The scum of the earth or the scum of society? Less than, not worthy. Just and when people are looking at you and you can interpret their looks that way about you, what does that do to our guests when they're receiving that?
A lot of guests get discouraged. You know what I mean? But as you be here at Water Street, you know what? I look in their eyes and say, I'm a child of God. Look at me how you want to. If God looking at me as his child, I don't care what you what you say. Yeah. But now I'm going into the flush because I get a little angry, Jack. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll be wanting to say,
because the weight. The weight that carries on those individuals. They come through the door, and there's a burden that they've been carrying. There's a weight they've been carrying because of how they've been perceived.
Right.
And those looks that they've received over and over and over again tells them who they are.
And I know some guests, they see that stuff, and some of them, it encourages them to push forward. Like the gentleman who's talking right here. Yeah. I got his voice, Jack. I'm sorry. But check this out. Right. He done went through the program. He done transitioned. He working. He got him a car. Yeah. He is off drugs. He is in victory. He's thriving. He got victory, bro.
He's restored.
That's right. He is restored.
He's beginning to restore others.
That's right. And the thing is, it's good for people to hear his story because, man, I mean, like this dude was something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he still is something.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's we have the privilege of meeting somebody who's received all that negativity.
That's right.
And begin to rebuilding them. And I know that's like I've watched you with our guest Ron, and I know how like just your presence and the words of encouragement that you speak all the time.
I got to.
Because they've already received hundreds and hundreds of looks and comments and words of discouragement.
Yep.
We've got to rebuild.
That's right.
And let them know how God sees them, not how the world
Not
sees
how
them.
the world sees them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the world is the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take that for all it's worth.
All right. Let's go on to one of our other guests.
Hang out with friends that I thought they was friends that was not friends, and hang out in my car, and there. Hang out in my car and in the streets all day, up and down, just wondering where the night is gonna take me or the day, because I didn't have to follow no rules. I did whatever I want, whenever I want. So, yeah, it was like, okay, I just get up and find a way to shower and get dressed and try to look pretty and then just be out and, so. You feel they judge you because, let's say, if you don't have money, you're not good for it. So they're going to judge you. Oh, you don't have money, so you can be with us. You can hang out with us. You can do this with us. So they're going to judge you on that part. If you don't dress the right way, they still going to like, oh, but look at her, how she carrying herself. Now they go and judge you for that. But they don't know what you're going through. They don't know how much, money you have to handle your life or, what to get or what not to get. So they're going to judge you for anything. The dress, the way you carry yourself, if you have money or you don't have money. So this street is bad. So they're going to judge you. When you come to the Water Street Mission, coming from a Christian base, you don't feel that judgment because they make you feel like part of it. But the street, it's different. Like, you feel judged and, you're like, oh, if I'm not like this, they will not accept me. If I'm not this way or the way they want, they will not accept me or they will, they're going to judge me. But here, it's not like that. So it's the opposite. Like, you don't be judged and they accept the way you are. Like, they accept me, and that's a big deal to do.
It's interesting because you can tell when she's talking about being judged over and over again. Like, she's talking about people she was on the street with.
Yeah.
So it's not just like the last one we were talking about how, people who maybe are doing better, looking down upon those on the street. But even within those who are experiencing homelessness, who are struggling, there's a lot of judgment going on.
It is always judgment. But one thing she kept saying, money, money.
Yeah.
Which is the root to all evil. But it brings a lot of different aspects of survival out there.
Sure.
And it's anybody. There's some people that fly private jets, and there's some people that wash them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the flyers look at the washers real bad. And there's some people out there, they might have money to stay in a hotel, but because you on the street laying in a bus stop, they look down on you. But they one day away from being where you at.
Right.
And judgment is always going to happen.
Yeah.
And like with her, it seems like she just wanted to be loved and respected.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear that. The fact that she used that phrase over and over and over again.
That's right.
Like, she wanted to be free from that.
Yeah.
And we know.
That's right. We know.
Whether it's on the street, whether it's in the church,
That's right.
whether it's in the workplace, people are always judging. That's
right.
like a human thing.
Yeah.
Like, and why do we judge others? Because we want to lift ourselves up.
Right.
If we can find somebody we can put down,
It'll make
in our sick economy, it lifts us up, right?
But she said one thing though. When I came to Water Street, yes, I'm Water Street. I'm pushing it. It's on his shirt, Water Street Mission. She felt welcome, love, and me coming here myself as a guest in the past.
Yeah.
At first, I was kicking and screaming because I was so much in my mess that I couldn't see the people's heart. The only thing they wanted to do was helped me. I know that feeling of coming to a place from that mess and then being loved on and helped.
Well, and that, one final thought on her, that her voice changed at the end as she's talking about judgment. Right. You could hear her voice and even her countenance change when she talked about coming through the doors and being received without judgment.
That's right.
That's what she craved more, and I mean, not to minimize the safety of being in a place like Water Street as compared to being on the street. Right. Not to minimize, the food and the shower and the clothing and the supports and everything that we do, but for her, the transformational thing was, I came here and I wasn't judged.
Yeah. Loved you.
That was the difference for her.
Love you where you at.
Where you at. Yeah. All right. Let's listen to the last clip here.
Mm-hmm. That self-respect, that confidence and all that withers away really quick if you go through enough. I don't think you can hurt somebody who's already living on the street.
Yeah.
I think that they know exactly what's around them. They're comfortable regardless. They chose it, and they're just like, all right, I know what bushes feel like. They're pretty cool. I know soft grass. I know places where I'm under a tree. I love nature. And but how safe are you before something else happens? Or when a cop pulls over and says, hey, you have to move. You can't stay here. You can wind up in jail. And then people are like, oh, well, that's, a place to stay with a roof and a meal and all that. It's not the same. It's really not the same. There's plenty of other places we can go. And I've seen people they just want cigarettes and weed or money. And they just keep the ball going down that hill. And it's just like, it's really sad, but you don't have to live that way if you choose, to stay off the street,
She said, keep that ball rolling down the hill. That's a big statement of everything that's going on. They want to stay. Some people, let me rephrase that, want to stay in homelessness. They want to get high every day. They want to, and believe you me being an ex-addict, right? Everybody went out of it. But some people, they think it's too far gone and there's no other way.
Or the journey out's too hard.
That's right. And guess what?
Or I'm not worth it.
Yeah, no and then they come here and they hear those words and it be encouraging. Because I watch people leave here and come back and the guy say, oh man, I didn't take everything I needed, right? But I took a little bit. And a guy just went upstairs in the program. He left out of here a mess. He came back better than when he left. Wow. And he's in the program right now.
But he wants more.
He came back, and like she's saying, you can go to jail. And we had an incident one time. I got a call over to the Access Center, and it was a guy sitting there, a Spanish guy. It was a Monday, and we was full. And they was telling them, no, it was a Friday, and they was telling them, just call back, and or by a supervisor, he was told, come back Monday. And we have a bid for you. And he was determined, no, I ain't going nowhere, this and that and the other. So I asked him in 50 different ways, in a loving, caring way, bro, you got to leave the property, or the police will be called. He said, call the police. Now, this is the crazy part. 2 big officers came, and I was like, oh, man, they going to do something with this guy. And the officer said, hey, man, look. These people are asking you to leave, and, they say come back Monday. You just got to find a place to be for those 2 days, this and that. And don't make me have to do a report on you. And he said, well, I ain't going nowhere. And the cops say, well, they stepped back, and then he pushed the chair, the young guy, and stood there like, well, y'all going to have to lock me up. And I'm like, let's clear the lobby. Everybody get away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the officer say, man, stand up. He stood up, turned around, and handcuffed him. And as he walking out the door, he looked back and say, well, I'll have a place to stay until Monday. Oh, man. That it just tore my heart because I've been to jail before. And it's not a good place to be. No. Maybe they probably threw him in a tank, but guess what? I never seen him again. And it always be on my mind. Like, he was at that level that he wanted to go to jail to have a place to stay.
Yeah.
You know, man, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
man.
and that's part of our work that breaks our hearts every day is we're not able to help everybody in the moment.
Yeah,
moment, like we want to help everybody, but there are times when we can't, and then in those situations we see the extremes that people go to, and it's painful to walk in that, and it encourages us to redouble our work and see how we can do more. It's interesting. The young lady talked about, and you mentioned how some people keep the ball rolling down the hill. They I'm comfortable. I'd rather be out here.
Yeah, they don't want to come and
that can be a stereotype about everybody who's out there on the street is there because they choose to be. That's not true.
That's not true.
But there is some truth to the fact that some people are at a place in the moment where they'd rather be out there than even in a shelter or working with somebody to get into housing or whatever.
Like one thing I found out about homelessness, I shared it with y'all earlier. I was asked to leave Water Street once, twice, during my mess. And the people who have had nothing, the homeless, like when you find a good community group of them, they will offer you everything. They fed me, made sure, point me to places I can go eat and get clothing. And, you find some good people in that mess.
Yeah.
But you have to be super careful in that mess.
Because there's also, as you talked about earlier, there's the predators.
That's right.
Who will pretend to be your friend.
But it is some, like every homeless person. And I'm saying it to the world. Say every homeless person is not a bad person.
Well, and some of the most generous people I've ever met in my life.
That's right.
Are people with nothing.
Yeah, man.
And when they get that little bit, they're willing to share with others because they know what it's like.
That's right.
To not have and how much they want to be able to help others.
I see it here on the campus. Like, a lot of guests are like, oh, I don't mess with nobody. But I see you every day helping Miss Such and Such get up there in the wheelchair, up the ramp. Yeah. But you don't help nobody. It's like God has a way of them.
You're not supposed to see him do that, Ron.
No. But I see it. And not to skim off of it. Yeah. I walk by the guy and say, thank you. And he'd be like, what you talking about, Ron? I'd be like, nothing, God bless you, and keep walking, But
he knows you know.
It's a lot of love here for people that's struggling and homeless. Yeah. But, I just want people to know that they can get out of their mess. Yeah. That it is help out there, and you got to put some work in. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're grateful to be a part of that help.
Yes, sir.
And some of our friends in the community, the Lancaster Food Hub, who's operating the other shelter here in Lancaster, and Milagro House and Claire House, all those other agencies, and around the county. Yeah. There are places for you to get help.
Right.
Water Street is absolutely here to help you. And so, that's our hope, is that some of our friends out there who are struggling on the street, struggling with safety and hope and judgment, that they can find a place where they can feel safe, where they don't receive judgment, and where we can walk with them.
That's right.
Ron, thank you so much. It was great to have your insights today. Yeah. And thank you for what you do for our guests every day as well.
I love doing it, Jack.
And appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast today. And hopefully there's some insights for you. In our next podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can help, not just pointing them to Water Street, but how can you help somebody who's experiencing homelessness? What does it look like to come alongside them? So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again.